Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
100%. Ready to go. It's been a long time coming, and I just can't wait to be out there.
That's why we play football in the SEC, trying to go get it done.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Four and 1 in the SEC for the first time since, OB?
I don't know.
Last year.
Is that right?
So we're not going to get too excited, but we're going to be excited about it. Welcome into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour.
Technically 4 and 1 in the SEC. They're just 4 and 1.
4 and 1, sorry. Pardon. 4 and 1, 2 and 0 in the SEC.
Yeah, 2 and 0.
Since the first time since?
Last year.
Last year, that's correct. Last year they beat Auburn and Arkansas.
Auburn, Arkansas. Yeah.
This year they beat
Florida and Arkansas.
And so there you go. And their loss against Miami last year, their loss this year against Notre Dame. So here we are. A game that, the way I described it, and you lived it with me, and you were the same way, frustrating, and then a happy ending, if you will. Like it was frustrating just because I was like, they can't move the ball. Mm-hmm. You had written down on the sheet, I think it was 5 straight possessions where they had maybe 31 combined yards, something to that effect.
Actually, I think it ended up being 6.
Okay.
Where they had something like 48 yards combined.
Yeah.
Something like that. And taking out the penalty. Because one time they got a 15-yard penalty on a pass interference. But, yeah, it was whatever it was. It was immediately after the 10-yard touchdown drive.
Right.
The touchdown that Shamar Stewart deserves credit for forcing that fumble. And then the offense just went into a deep freeze for 2.5 quarters.
It did. But then...
Or a quarter and a half.
The way I see it and the way I described it to Billy, and I think you saw it the same way, OB, in the fourth quarter, I feel like they used Marcel differently. And what I mean by that, yes, the running game was much more effective. But they rolled him out a little bit more than I remember seeing him, and maybe that was just a concerted effort. Maybe it's just how the plays worked out. But they rolled him out a little bit more. And obviously, when you complete a couple of passes, it does open everything else up, and that's when Le'Veon Moss just took over.
Yeah, and there was some really good blocking going on, too. But, yes, I get it. You're going to have your quarterback in the pocket. Sometimes you need him to be.
Yep.
But he does seem to become a little more effective when they move him around some.
Yeah, they did that. Let's go through the 3 things that I wanted to see revisited because I don't know if you remember yours, but I remember mine.
Okay, tell me.
I'm going to give it to you.
I got an idea what mine were.
Down the field passing.
Okay.
We saw an effort to go down the field more, I think. I mean, it wasn't super effective initially, but we saw that.
I remember saying I wanted to see Noah Thomas show that he could be a number 1 receiver.
And was he a number 1 receiver?
We kept saying, if not now, when? And he was.
He was absolutely that. The second thing I wanted to see was corralling Taylon Green. And I think, for the most part,
they did a great job with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to understand that guy is talented enough to make some plays on his own.
Yep.
And he did.
And this last one, call me a prophet, please.
Yes.
Fourth quarter line of scrimmage domination.
Boy.
And that's on both ends.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought the defensive line was pretty dominant the whole game.
Yep.
Offensive line really came along there in the fourth quarter.
And they did. I mean, and that's, look, it's not going to win a lot of style points, but that style of football wins games at the end of games.
Well, that was like that 2020 season because, sometimes people say, that looked ugly and everything, but it was they always own the fourth quarter. And, I hope they can fix some things and to where they don't have to rely on winning in the fourth quarter and just, hey, maybe we can get to the fourth quarter and your starters have their shoulder pads off and are relaxing on the sideline. But until then, you take any win.
One thing that I am guilty of, I think a lot of us are guilty of, is you look at one game and then you think, but if you do that against this team, this will happen. Well, if you do what you did to Taylor Green, to Brady Cook, he's not as slippery, my friend.
Right.
He's going to, if you're able to put the pressure that you put on Arkansas on Brady Cook, it's going to be a long day for that offense, even though I know that is a much better offense than the Arkansas offense.
Plus, Brady Cook can go through his progressions faster than I think Taylor Green showed that he could.
There's that.
And so that's
the scary part too.
Yeah. So that's why Missouri's a better team.
But how quickly was Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner getting in the backfield?
They were doing what they do, and I think they had Taylor Green kind of shell shocked to a certain degree.
Let's go to some of the sound. I know you don't have your headphones on, but you've heard most of these here. Coach Elko breaking down what happened in this game, the initial question there at the press conference.
Just kept getting off schedule, whether there were things we could have done a little bit better to create better leverages, better angles in the pass game and the run game, whether the plays weren't getting run exactly the way we had them designed to be run, or we weren't getting the right people the ball at the right times. And so, we have to take some ownership on what happened, but nobody blinked on our sideline. And I think that's a testament to where we are as a program from a culture standpoint.
Nobody blinked on their sidelines when things were going wrong. That's how Coach Elko ends it. And you'll hear my follow-up question in a moment. But to me, you have to do it all season long. I know that. But to consider how the Bowling Green game ended, to consider how the Notre Dame game ended, this was a different closing than we had seen from this team in prior games. And even the Florida game kind of left, even though they dominated that game, they left a little bit. I wanted to see more at the end, but I understood the why they weren't doing more. They did that. This game, and as he's pointed out there, was kind of the reverse of what we've seen from this team. A slower start, stronger finish.
Yeah, look, they show great resiliency, and it makes you proud of them. And I love the mental toughness of the team and all that. But you got to get to the point where you're playing more consistent all the way through the game. And look, I'm upset about it. They could have been even more dominant in the second half if not for one official's complete incompetence on call. And we all know what I'm talking about on the long pass that should have been a pass interference. And they said, it couldn't be caught. And I've been watching that play over and over, and that guy should be suspended. His name's Andy Britton. He's from Montgomery, Alabama. He should be suspended. So the field judge that made that call, because they made contact with Noah at like the 25. The ball hit at the 10. They knocked him off his feet at 16. So, okay, I got that.
I feel like that's not the only almost PI.
But that was one that was a big one. Yep. That's glaring in neon light. That's official just wants to keep the game going.
So they could have continued putting their foot on the throat of Arkansas. But let's talk about how they got there because of what I just said a moment ago, learning from the last couple games.
I think we're still growing through this whole thing, and we haven't played great second halves. We know that. I mean, it was certainly not lost on the people in this building, and we had been getting off to great starts. And so today we didn't get off to a great start, but we went out and played a great second half. And sometimes it goes like that, and you just gotta battle through the ebbs and flows of the game, and that's just where we are right now as a team. And we don't have the ability to just walk out there and just blitz people.
They don't have the ability just to blitz people. It's they're still learning, is how Coach Elko left it there. But if they continue learning, which is what it feels like, do you feel like it's gone like this, stair step up? Like last week, I don't know if it was a stair step up. I think last week was just a tough game. Okay, a tough game because you took on an opponent that seemed to scheme well for you. And like I said last week, by the way, I don't know if you remember me saying this. I'm not going out on a limb saying that Bowling Green is going to be really good because I've learned that mistake with Miami and Appalachian State before. I'm not going to feel better about a loss because I think a team's trajectory is going a certain way. I do think matchups are a thing, though.
Oh, absolutely. That's why sometimes
Kentucky, hello?
Yeah, exactly. Do I think they're getting better? Yes. I think the defense, especially the defensive line, took a big leap, not just a step forward. They looked like the defensive line that we projected all year long in that game. They've been good.
Yeah.
But then they were great. They were dominant.
Yeah.
So giving up big plays is still an issue, even though it was so close to, quite frankly, 2 plays, and the Aggies probably don't give up a touchdown.
By the way, just this season alone is different even with some of the offensive issues. if you don't give up the big plays, which
the
I know
chunk ones. Yeah, they happen.
They happen. But if you don't, the Notre Dame game, a couple of them there, big plays, like what happened here?
The thing is, you look at what the down and distance was when they give them up. Like the Notre Dame first touchdown was on like 2nd and 14. And Arkansas on their first touchdown
3rd and 11.
is 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11.
Yep. And you had them. You had a sack.
Right. You have 3 guys all around, nobody gets him. And then on they're punting. And their punter runs for 25 yards.
That guy was fast.
And the thing that, he is, but the thing that bothers me
Real
is
fast, actually.
A&M, they were punting from midfield, and the A&M coverage or their punt return team, they're all bailing out
Turn around.
Yeah, and I'm like, what kind of return do you think you're going to get punting from there? Why is everybody just completely selling out to get back to block?
I did expect some better punt returns this year, and maybe it'll come, right? But I did expect a little bit better. But that particular play, that just shows you that you said it in the press box, how much this game meant to Arkansas.
Yeah, I think Arkansas, well, Sam Pittman in particular, he needed that game. He's gonna get fired. Yeah. And I'm watching that because they're faking a punt and they're faking a field goal and it's just to me. Arkansas just threw everything they had at A&M.
You know what? To me, an interesting part of this whole, because I think from a passing perspective, I think we weren't super excited with Marcel Reed's game. Right? It got better as the game went on. The numbers weren't terrible, but he played better than Taylon Green, by the way.
Yeah, 2 plays. Well, I don't know. Did he? Taylon Green threw for like 279 yards.
Yeah, but he had an interception. He had a fumble. He struggled. Well, did he have the fumble? No, he didn't have the fumble.
Yeah, he had a fumble at the end of the game.
Yeah, and he had the interception. So that's 2 turnovers. So, yes, I give it to Marcel Reed. And Marcel Reed led the best drive at the end of the game.
He did.
But what I was going to say about that, even though I think we want to see more from the passing game, for A&M if I would have told you Marcel Reed's going to rush for 10 yards in a game and he's only going to throw for 160, would you think A&M would win that game?
Well, I thought, you know what? That game, maybe, because crazy things happen when they play Arkansas. But
in general,
he's so close to a big game, and I'm talking about 2 passes. If they don't get the pass, if they get the pass interference call, okay, or he has Noah on what's going to be a 70-yard touchdown deep, and he just barely misses him. But he threw a heck of a ball when they're backed up on the 1-yard line.
Oh, yes, he did.
To get them, the first down, 10-yard gain, just to get off the one.
Do you remember I went conservative Nuño on you? I was like, if I'm them, I'm just going to run up the middle and get a yard or 2. That was the right play because it worked. A, it worked. And B, it got him moving, got some confidence going. They completed a quick pass. They were able to get some breathing room.
Well, I just wonder how much of this goes into it. Say, hey, Arkansas, last time we were in this was against Florida, and Arkansas's watched that game, and they say, hey, on the first, what they're going to do is they're going to sneak on first down and run. So let's kind of pinch for that, and maybe Colin Klein's anticipating that that's what they're going to do. So hey, let's roll our guy around and see what's there. And there was a 10-yard completion.
So I think it's interesting that this team won this game differently. Well, the same way that they won the Florida game, because in Florida they asserted their will, their dominance all game long. This game they did that in the 4th quarter. But either way, if this team is elite or very good in the 4th quarter, even though we know, like with our eyes, I know this ain't Georgia, Alabama, Texas right now. I know that right now, okay? But they keep getting better. Why not be in that conversation in a month?
Yeah, maybe if you just keep getting better, but you got to get, and at some point
you got to get better though.
At some point you got to get significantly better. I mean, they were better, I think, in that game at the end than they were in previous games, even though they were good at Florida the way they put them away. But you got to. I understand there's going to be some 3 and outs.
Yep.
I understand you're going to have some series aren't going to make it, but you can't go 6 series where you can't move the ball at all.
Am I making myself feel better by saying Arkansas is actually better than I thought? Defensively, I told Billy yesterday, I thought their game plan was awesome.
I think Arkansas is a decent team.
Yeah. They're going to lose a bunch of games now. Now
they
the dam's broken.
Well, and look at who they got coming up.
Tennessee, Bama, like it's
it's a
nice
gauntlet.
Sorry, Sam.
And quite frankly, I don't care. But it's Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Our Kansas. But I can't say that anymore since Kansas got pretty decent. So now they're about the same ilk.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think Arkansas is okay. I think they're not. I think it's a good win. I'll put it that way. I think beating Arkansas like that to me makes me feel better than I did a week ago when I was saying, look, it's still Bowling Green and it's a good and it's a win. I'll take it, but I'm supposed to beat Bowling Green. Arkansas is a proud program that's been up and down. They needed it, and you got it.
But it is the SEC, and Ole Miss is supposed to beat Kentucky. And I think Georgia is supposed to beat, even, I know you picked, I think you picked Bama in this game.
No, I did not.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. But theoretically, Georgia should beat Alabama year one of a new coach. But it is at Bryant-Denny. I understand that. But, okay, maybe that's the bad example. But you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go to that one because that's still a coin flip.
Top 5 teams. But there are, I was talking to a Texas fan yesterday who told me, like, if we don't wake up, we're going to start getting beat in the SEC. And I know they won, what was it, 35-14?
35-13.
But it was a close game for maybe 2.5 quarters.
Yeah. And
that's what happens in the SEC.
And it just happens. Mississippi State might be the weakest team in the SEC this year. Because Vanderbilt's got a pulse. And you're looking at it, and it's late in the fourth quarter, late in the second quarter, and it's, 7-6, and then, of course, Texas goes down and scores, so it's 14-6 at halftime. But, Mississippi State made it a game for a while.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up on the Boss Firearms Hotline, 979-693-1150. You can text us as well. This is the Cool Zone. We'll have a sponsor tomorrow we'll talk about here in the Cool Zone. Cool Zone got sponsored, baby.
Yeah, I finally got it. I was never in the Cool Zone in high school, but I finally made it when I was almost 63 years old.
You paid to get into the champagne room, and everybody left the champagne room. Let's go.
What's the champagne room?
Let's go talk to Nick Savage behind the glass. Nick, good morning, my friend.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
You know about the champagne room?
I don't know, and I don't think I want to comment either. But yeah, I kind of
Luke is Googling. I'm watching him Google it.
I kind of felt like you, David. I listened to the Luchador this morning, and normally I'm kind of like on the optimistic side, but watching that game, I was a little frustrated throughout it. But again, they pulled out the win, and I think it's cool that for the second time this year, kind of the college football world's going to turn their attention to Kyle Field again. The only ranked matchup, A&M Missouri, this week. So looking forward to that, and again, happy to be 4-1.
SEC Nation coming to town, only ranked matchup.
Only one in the whole nation.
I also saw Josh Pate.
Yeah, he's coming in.
He's coming in.
Y'all going to work out together?
That's one I probably don't want to work out with because he'll put me to shame. I like working out with people like you and Billy.
Y'all want to do a Hans and Franz together?
Hans and Franz. Like, I don't even want to work out with Steve McKinney. By the way, why do people not tell him he wears schmediums? Oh, because he played in the NFL. That's why.
Plus, I think
he's jacked.
Yeah, I don't think he can help it.
This is true. There is no shirt. His guns is a different story. Speaking of guns, Luke Evangelist. Hello, Luke, at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
Great segue, David. Hello, how are y'all?
I'm all right, buddy. What's going on? Did you find out about the champagne room?
Yes, I did have to Google that one, and I'm surprised you made that joke on air, but between you two, I'm never surprised anymore.
What did I do?
Well, not this specific time, OB, but
in general.
In general.
Luke projects.
A projector?
He is. He's always projects his own debauchery onto other people.
Luke, let's get
this. That's not true. Yeah. Well, I actually wanted to bring up a couple interesting stats. One, thank you to Bradley on the YouTube chat for pointing this out. This was the first game A&M actually won the coin toss. Can you believe that?
I don't ever pay attention to that. Oh. Do you pay attention to the coin toss?
No.
We got the ball? All right, cool. That's the kind of I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably should pay attention. Actually, I think I wrote it on the boards when it happened, but it is one of those things like it went in.
I always write it down on my play-by-play sheet, like deferred or whatever, but then I forget about it. Because I'm always thinking, what if I need to refer back to it, and I never do.
And you have it. There you go.
Okay, well, here's a stat you might actually care about. Let's talk about some cleats.
Sorry, by the way, I didn't mean to, poo-poo your thoughts.
No, it's okay. Le'Veon Moss, you may have saw him wearing white cleats at the beginning of the game, green cleats at the end. Well, he wore his white cleats for the first 3 quarters-ish. He had 7 carries for 27 yards. That's 3.9 yards per carry. He then changed to the green cleats, 6 carries for 90 yards, 15 yards per carry. He had 77% of his rushing yards in the fourth quarter, and A&M as a team had 66% of their rushing yards in the fourth quarter.
We may all have to have green shoes moving forward as a staff. I may put that as like a mandate.
Okay, well.
Josh, can we expense it? Anyway, if it works for Le'Veon, it can work for us.
Yeah, maybe Taylor Green should go to green.
Oh, well played.
That was good. How about another one, but on the flip side, Jaquindon Jackson, Arkansas's running back, came into the game averaging 118 rushing yards, 6.8 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns per game. He only had 37 rushing yards, 3.7 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. And in his entire career, going back to his days at Utah, that is the second lowest rushing total on 10 or more carries of his career.
Yeah, he's a good running back.
He's very good.
I think he's from Duncanville, so he's a Texas kid. He's a good running back, but hey, man, that ain't Pine Bluff defense.
Good point. And again, remember when I said earlier, if I would have told you that Marcel only had 10 yards rushing, that you would think they would. Conversely, if I would have told you that Jaquindon Jackson only had 30-plus yards rushing, you would think A&M would win in a landslide, right?
Well, we said that if they, we were saying 140 if they got less than that.
How many total rushing yards did they have as
100.
a team?
Arkansas as a team had
106.
They're 100. Somebody's leaving out like that. Maybe they're leaving out that last 6-yard loss on the.
Okay.
So you can go back. It's 100.
Got it.
He told you.
Hashtag fact checked.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back, I want to do the turning point because I think we might agree on the turning point. So when I'm watching the game, I'm writing down what I think might be the turning point. Might be. There were a couple different times like, that might be the turning point.
I got
this
one.
This is the one. All right.
Okay.
This is the one.
Let's see if we agree on that.
I don't know if we have a graphic on my prize picks. Do we have a graphic? We don't have one, right?
You must have had a good week.
I don't know if I did.
Oh.
Because I had a horrendous week.
Wick?
Yeah, I had a horrible.
Wick.
I had a horrible week with my pick six.
Oh, okay.
I mean, when I say like enormously bad, like I won once.
Okay, I think I was 3-3.
Yeah, I'm bad.
I lost on the Aggies again.
Billy,
that half point.
I think Billy went 6 for 6, or if not 5 of 6, I believe. So, but I'm just saying, prize picks wise, I think I did really well. Do we know Carson Beck? He did throw for more than I thought, so I missed that one. But the rest of my guys, you want to make some money, don't listen to my advice. Listen to Matthew Dawson. I think he probably did well. Luke, did you do well?
Yeah, I actually won $200 this week. I should have won $500, but I did win $200.
You won $200?
Yeah.
That will be fanning himself.
Win some money.
I won $80. I did pretty well.
Nick, you won $80.
Yeah.
Sweet.
God bless. All right. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Caleb Williams threw for at least a yard yesterday.
He did.
All right. So then you would have won if you would have picked him. Again, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to receive $50 once you play in $5 lineups. It is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Basically, you pick more than or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll. It is PrizePicks, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, let's do a little turning point in the game. We may agree. We may disagree.
We may.
What is yours?
Okay, I can't tell you the actual time when this occurred, but you'll remember it was probably around somewhere around 6.5 minutes ago in the game. A&M's trailing 17-14. They're looking at 3rd and 4. 3rd and 4. And Le'Veon Moss busts one for 23 yards. And
look at that. We already got the video queued up because I knew that was coming.
It seemed like right after that was the thing. You know, they were making some progress before then, but it seemed like that's when the well, I don't want to use that analogy, especially with what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
But that's when things opened up.
Yep.
Because after that 23-yard gain, the next play he runs for 8, the next play he runs for 15, and then there's the 5-yard pass for a touchdown to Trey Watson, and the Aggies have the lead, and we're pretty dominant after that.
Yeah, that's the turning point for me. That's exactly what I wrote down. Yeah, because it's 3rd and 4. Like if you don't get it there, all right, where are we at that 3rd and 4? That we are at the
49 at midfield.
Midfield. So then it puts you in depending on what happens, it puts you in a situation, do you go for it on 4th?
Yeah.
Midfield, do you punt and just, your defense has been balling out, but you are down now 3 because they had just scored on the previous possession, right? What do you do in that situation? And it didn't matter because once he got that play, you were now in field goal range, so you felt pretty good at least about potentially tying the game. But you went for the jugular. Kept on moving the ball forward. There was a big 15-yard run, I think, after that.
It was by Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah, Le'Veon had an 8-yard up the middle. The next play and the play after that, 15 yards. And then Marcel Reed had that touchdown pass.
By the way, what a nicely called play.
What a nicely called drive.
Yeah, well, hey, all drives look good if your offensive line are knocking them back and your big, powerful running back is just blasting through.
So I'm like, I think in the middle, I can tell you in a press box what I'm thinking because it's just me and you talking, right? And Kay can hear me, right? I don't always write what I'm thinking on the boards, on the thread, game day thread, because because you don't know how the game's going to play out, right? There's certain they might be setting stuff up for later, right? Like we don't know the chess pieces. We're just watching without a lot of information, right?
True.
We are watching games. Oh my God, they can't complete a pass. Oh my, I hate it. I hate the play calling. I hate life. I hate Aggies, right? That's a lot of what I read. And then they make it fit. They talk about physical appearance. They talk about mental. Like it's just, and then all of a sudden you get a drive like that. Like, oh my God, he's brilliant, brilliant.
Well. Again, they were dominant in the 4th quarter.
They were. They weren't earlier.
Do some things from the 2nd quarter to the 4th quarter, and maybe you don't have to count on them being dominant. And I guarantee you Elko feels the same way.
I guess my point is I love expressing ideas, but also know it is a 4-quarter game. Let's see how things play out. This is a 4-1 football team. Some people thought I was disappointed in the postgame wrap. You were with me postgame.
Yeah, I watched it.
I wasn't disappointed at all. I was happy. I was just, it was a roller coaster experience watching that game because for a while I'm like, I told you, I don't know if we can move the ball anymore. We may not get another yard the rest of the game.
When Arkansas took the lead on the field goal, you're going to say, are they going to be able to get a field goal and extend the game? Because they hadn't done anything offensively until then. And then Moss was the boss.
See, I go Spanish, you go boss.
Yeah, well, they needed Moss. Okay.
Yeah.
Sí.
The boss Haas.
Sí, amigo.
Gracias, señor. All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break, and we will talk to Jackie Sherrill on the other side.
Okay.
I love me some Coach Sherrill. OB, if you get a nice victory, because that game mattered, right, for A&M, and I think more for Arkansas, but that game certainly, I saw the elation on their faces afterward. They were a happy group. And if I were in charge of nutrition at Texas A&M football, if I were in charge, and they said, David, what should we do to celebrate? I go, let's get our proteins and a little bit of a dessert, get a carb that is so delicious, it's almost like eating a dessert.
I hear you. I know where you're going.
There's only one place to go in this situation.
Yeah, go towards Snook. Not all the way, just in that direction to 1775.
And honor America in the military.
Always. every day you should honor America, but you should also honor my Billy by going to 17. And it's your Billy going to 1775. Everybody be happy.
You know, I think you know this. Texas Monthly top 25 new barbecue joints and top 100 barbecue joints. You knew that.
Yeah, I think they're underrated.
Yeah, that's underrated. Yeah, it should be top 1. That's kind of how I do it. Troubadour Festival barbecue joint. Thursdays they have brisket Phillies. Friday they have Brazos Spuds, large potato loaded with fixings, your choice of a meat.
I may go Friday. My wife's been saying, when are you going to take me there? And I keep having to explain, look, they only are open until they sell out.
And they sell out.
And I always take her out on Friday night. I said, now, if you can get away from work on Friday afternoon and want to go, then we'll do it. Yes. Maybe I'll be there Friday.
Maybe.
And if I do, I'm going to get some of that pork ribs. I'm going to get some of that amazing brisket, and I guarantee I'm going to get that queso mac and cheese.
1775txbbq.com. That is 1775txbbq.com. Thursday through Saturday, 979-492-6241. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan, our Heisman Trophy voter. Hey, Olin.
Hey.
Good to see you. And I'm David Nuño. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline for our weekly conversation with Jackie Sherrill, presented by Texas Best Home Loans. You're trusted Jackie to lead the Aggies to the Southwest Conference titles. Now trust his son Braxton to lead you in the best rates in home loans and refinancing at Texas Best Home Loans. Score better rates and lower fees with Braxton Sherrill at txbesthomeloans.com. They are an equal housing lender. And with that, we go to the hotline. Jackie Sherrill with us. Coach, how are you? Good morning, sir.
I'm doing good. Thank you. Much better after the Aggie win.
Yeah, much better. So give me kind of your emotions as you're watching this game unfold. Obviously, the climax at the end, winning it and the way they won it, but just kind of take me through your journey in that game.
Well, when you look at the game, did we play really well offensively? You could say not really. However, that game, or the Arkansas game, has been won in the fourth quarter for so many games. And however, the A&M, it's better to win a game when you have to come back to win it sometimes than it is if you blow somebody out, because it gives your players the understanding that you never give up. You just keep playing. And you have to say that the players did. It certainly, that Moss probably was the player in the final quarter that you can say won the game. He had three big runs right in a row that, moved the ball down the field. But, no turnovers. And usually you can say there's 5 plays out of 60 or sometimes 70 plays in a game, meaning offensively or defensively, that wins the game. And the turnovers that Arkansas had, won the game for A&M.
Hey, Coach, how much did that defensive showing kind of remind you of some of those that you might have had against Arkansas and, some of the defenses you had? I mean, I guess I want to say, just how impressed were you overall with what you saw, and the good and the bad? I know there was some bad too, but just the overall performance.
Well, what you did see, and you're seeing it's coming out each week. We thought going into the season that the defensive front was going to be really good. And, after the Notre Dame game, of course, we didn't put the pressure, but the defense has taken a challenge, it looks like, and has gotten better every week. But there's no question the pressure that they put up front on the quarterback for Arkansas made a big difference in the game.
Coach Sherrill, how does A&M limit the big plays? Because when you look at this defense, they've been so solid, like elite against Arkansas, but they do still give up some big plays, which, by the way, happened early in the game, not late.
Well, that is mental. Usually when you give up a big play, then in the secondary, it could be a bust. It could be a alignment issue up front. Certainly it could be a bust. And it could be that we called the wrong defense at the wrong time. And so, grading film, and you grade every play, you grade every player, and you have to, as a coach, check a box that says, that's my fault. I either put them in the wrong position, or I called the wrong man or coverage at that time, or called the wrong stunt up front. So you have to be very honest in grading films, putting that check on yourself rather than the players. So, all of us, we think sometimes it's a busted cover, but it may be, or a busted call, but it really could be what the defensive call is, that we're in the wrong call against the wrong offensive set.
Coach, how much, from the coach's perspective, how big a factor was the punter, Tyler White? It seemed like Arkansas was looking at a long field most of the game.
Well, we, as a general audience, meaning people watching, we think offense first, defense second. But at A&M, for all those years, we understand defense. So A&M's a little different. That defense is very important. But we really, I'm talking about the normal fan, we don't go into a game thinking we're going to win the game in the kicking game. But that's 1/3 of the game. And you look at all the plays, meaning that you have offense or defense, you don't have but seven or eight opportunities, both sides, to win the game in the kicking game. But in one play, you can lose the game in the kicking game. So you have to tip the hat off to your punter, and certainly also the field goal, the extra point. He's been an excellent Bond. So the kicking game has whoever's in charge of the kicking game and coaching the punters and kickers have done a good job.
Coach Sherrill, how do you assess Marcel Reed's growth? And when I say that, like, the numbers weren't necessarily there this weekend, but he was so poised at the end of the game. Are you seeing growth from the quarterback? Because the numbers against Florida were spectacular. Since I'm a little bit more modest, but still getting the results.
Well, that comes back sometimes to experience. Every game is different. He, as a rookie, meaning a freshman, he's going to see a new defensive scheme more and more. And, it doesn't matter what you practice all week. He may see a different set up front, or he may see a different coverage. So it comes down to experience. Now, does he have the talent? You have to say yes. Mentally, has he played to win? And that's the most important. When you have a quarterback that plays to win, you got a good chance to win because, he's not losing the game. He's not throwing interceptions. He's not turning the ball over. And so just keep, as we understand, he will get better week after week just in knowledge.
Coach Elko is going to have maybe a difficult decision, difficult situation when Connor Wigman is completely healthy. How much does, when you have to make that decision, how much does it stress out a coach? And I just wondering what might have been the most difficult decisions you ever, or situation you ever had to deal with when it came to managing quarterbacks like that?
Well, the biggest story that I always tell is we go to Arkansas. We go to Jackson, Mississippi. We're playing Brett Favre, and we're not going to win the game. And 2 minutes in the game, I make the decision to put Bucky Richardson in, and he went 84 yards on the first play. So the decision was, do we keep Bucky playing, meaning starting? And, the answer was yes, and we made the right decision because he took us to the Cotton Bowl. So, it's a decision as a staff, but you as a coach spend a lot of time, thinking and also praying that you make the right decision because coaching quarterbacks is very hard when you're talking about making sure mentally they are okay. And you don't want to change the mental capacity of the quarterbacks. We went through that at A&M not long ago. And that's something that can be very drastic in your whole football team. But the players themselves, they know which player is going to be the best player on the field or the player to play at that time. We're fortunate because we have two quarterbacks. So, you know, you can play either one, but the one that puts W's on the board is the one that you really need to have on the field. So to answer your question, those decisions are not very easy for the coach. You know, we have so many fans that want one quarterback versus the other, but it all comes down to which quarterback can get you. The responsibility of a quarterback is to get your team in the end zone and win the game.
Coach Sherrill, great stuff as always, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you very much.
You're welcome.
Gig 'em. That is our weekly conversation with Jackie Sherrill, presented by Texas Best Home Loans. All right, before we head a break, Luke, I want you to read a text message. Do me a favor. You're going to have to scroll up to 728 this morning from Dave in Temple. Okay?
Yep.
And I want Nick to answer. I want Olin to answer. And if you listen to the post-game wrap, you can answer too, okay? Because I didn't think I was this way, but I've heard of multiple people say this. So, Luke, take it away.
Dave in Temple said, relax, breathe deeply. Ags won in Jerry World. Everything is beautiful. No more than negative waves. Man, see, everything is beautiful.
Was I negative?
I thought you were just reacting to another stressful game at Jerry World.
It was stressful, and I love that they won. Nick, you were the producer on duty. Was I negative?
Yeah, I will say, normally on post-game wraps, you are. I don't feel like you were as bad this past time, but that's a great text. I love that. That's a great text.
Did you watch the wrap? Oh, you didn't watch.
I was driving back trying to find an Uber from Texas Live, so
this is what I
could
think
not.
it is. Okay, and I'm making I'm defending myself here. I think Nick knows he's played basketball with me, right? There's a game face Nuño that doesn't help out a grandma walking across the street. Like I'm in a zone. It's not that I'm mad or happy. I'm intense.
Here's what I think. I think you're starting to. Maybe you've been done it before, but I think what you did was you watched that game through the lens that I try to watch it as. Did you play to the level that you can win a championship playing like that? And understanding that standard changes in certain games, and that's the craziest game of all.
Yeah.
But you still went. I think you're critical about the fact was you went like more than half the game, or about half the game, doing absolutely nothing on offense.
But I'm happy we won. I love it. I love when we win. I love when we win. I hope they do a heritage film on me one day where we go through my emotional roller coaster of life. Like
would they title it like My Life in the Champagne Room?
No, I haven't been to the Champagne Room in ever. First off, I don't make enough money to go Champagne Room. B, I don't really go to those establishments. And
I know you don't.
That being said, because who doesn't want a little champagne? I don't drink alcohol. But that being said,
that's right, you don't.
I don't. That all being said, if they did a heritage film on my life, they would see this guy's got a little OCD. He's a little bit of a tryhard, but he's very happy around his wife and kids. That's what they would see.
And when the Aggies win a football
game. And when the
game,
Aggies win.
Even in the post game.
In the post game, he may seem a little intense because he thinks he's a coach, even though he knows nothing about coaching.
But they're going to tell the whole story.
They're going to tell the whole story 2 hours. That's what Chancellor McClain does. YourHeritageFilm.com, 713-893-8341. 713-893, say it, 8341.
8341.
Call him. I'm so happy to say it's Around Aggieland time, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. Our good friend Kay Naegeli. Kay, it's a wonderful day here in the Brazos Valley. How are you?
I love the enthusiasm.
Happy days.
This is just overwhelming right now.
I don't even know how much time we have. I'm sorry.
This is exactly how you sounded watching the game on Saturday.
Post-game wrap?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the post-game wrap. I'm David Nuño. We won.
I just don't think you're ever that negative, but maybe I'm just around you too much. I mean,
App State, I was pretty negative.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
there was conversations.
Yeah. It had to happen. I think we're all good vibes. OB is always just rambling about stats or
I left
looking
you
up
40
teams.
seconds for Around Aggieland. Are we going to have to revisit this at some point?
No, let's get to it. I'm going to start off with volleyball because we all know what happened with football over the weekend. They picked up their 4th straight win. But Aggie volleyball did fall to Texas on Friday, but they bounced back. Great game against Mizzou. They were down 2 sets and then came back and won a 5-set match on Sunday afternoon. They are now 10-2 on the season, and they are 1-1 in the SEC, and they will head to Auburn on Sunday. Soccer had a huge victory over number 8 Auburn, but they did fall to Texas over the weekend. They are now fell 2-0, and then.
Beautiful day in the Brazos Valley. We're all happy here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find Tom Hart. Tom, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I am splendid. I am so happy to be here on the show.
Oh, where's all this joy coming from? Just one great college football weekend? Is that it? And the anticipation of another?
I'm kind of having fun, but some people thought my post-game show I was a little too negative after an Aggie victory. I didn't think I was negative, but so I'm just trying to be a fake happy guy. I'm actually a happy guy, but apparently I'm trying to not give the image off that I'm a mean, like, focused individual at all times. I'm just happy.
You can't help but not be happy. Just because you have high standards does not mean that that's anything you need to apologize for. And in this league especially, we know how tough it can be to get momentum and to hold on to momentum. Look what happened to Ole Miss. Look where Kentucky stands now in terms of kind of regathering some of that glory. And I know this is a little bit buried because people are still talking about the game Saturday night, but Georgia's in real danger of missing the playoff given what their schedule has. So, yeah, it's not just enough to win a game or to build. Like, you've got to continue that momentum week in and week out, and it's a very perilous position. I mean, there's everybody in college football is fighting to stay atop. You've got to deliver every single day. Georgia played one horrendous quarter, one bad half, and that might be enough to keep them out of the playoff if, they trip up again.
Well, my thing is, I was actually happy. Like, so here's a message I just got. David, it would be great for you to share your pregame expectations. You measure against perfection. It's never met. Being a very emotional Aggie, the unmet expectation of perfection is a downer. I'm not expecting perfection. I'm being honest with you, Tom. This is me and you talking. Nobody else listening. I had the emotional roller coaster, and after the game, I kind of feel like I was playing. Like, that's just when we win and lose. Like, don't get me wrong. I was super happy that they won. You're 4-1 with a chance to beat Missouri this weekend and change the trajectory of the way the program is, at least the image. They're not even, they're 25th in one poll, right? And 22nd, 21 in the other. Like, you can change the way you're looked at depending on what happens this weekend. My thing was, that was a frustrating offensive 2.5 quarters for me, or maybe 3 quarters. And then it wasn't. Then it was great. Like, look, who is this team? I love this team. So that's more like I just went with the ebbs and flow of the game.
That's a very natural response week in and week out because we live and die with every play. Like, with our team, every play is a statement as to the future of the program. That's not realistic because it begets the next and the next and the next series. And I think it's hard if you live in the moment in a college football game. You live in the moment. It's by nature an overreaction. Because there's going to be, I don't know how many offensive plays A&M end up having, 65 maybe. Like, there's plenty of opportunities to fix what was wrong. And I think the other thing you see, and I saw this in Austin this weekend, like Mississippi State played Texas really, really tough for 3 quarters. And Mississippi State won the line of scrimmage in the first half more often than they lost it. So on the cards, if this were a boxing match, State came out ahead on the line of scrimmage on the judges' cards in the first half. But then the second half and the fourth quarter, I think better teams kind of find ways to either solve their problems or impose their will. And that's just, it's depth, it's talent. We talked about Arkansas going into that game last weekend. I think the most important stat that I got out of that, and I think it was 3-0, was the turnover battle, right? Arkansas can win games when they turn you over, when they take the ball away. If they don't, they're going to have a hard time. Not impossible, but that's something that they've used. That's what they, used at Auburn with all those takeaways to get a win. So if you protect the football as you should, then you can even the playing field and have an advantage. A&M takes it away 3 times. Everything else being what it is, especially the offensive numbers that Arkansas put up throughout the course of the game from a yardage standpoint, that's the difference. That's the difference maker right there of just one note in the stat column.
This is what I do love about this team, is that it is what Mike Elko said he wanted it to be, a line of scrimmage team that dominates the line of scrimmage. And in those games, typically you wear teams down in the fourth quarter. And that's what I think happened in the Arkansas game. I just think that line of scrimmage on the defensive side, on the offensive side, they got going. Some of the offensive issues, I give credit to Arkansas. They put 8 in the box. They make it hard for a quarterback who uses his legs a lot to get out there. And by the way, A&M didn't have to put 8 in the box, and they corralled Taylor Green.
Yeah. The line of scrimmage game that you're talking about, because I did not have a chance to watch it. Do you think A&M won that because of frontline talent or because of depth or a combination of both?
A combination of both. I do think that from the defensive standpoint, they were in the backfield all game long. But Taylor Green is
lost. I think it was.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I think it was 10 tackles for loss for A&M.
That's right. And they lived in the backfield. But Taylor Green's slippery, right? He's fast, slippery. So he extended a lot of plays. That first touchdown that they scored was all because of his athleticism and a great throw, right? He made a beautiful throw in that situation. Offensively, for me, at least when I'm watching in the moment, it always takes that second watch for me to really get a feel for the offensive line. In that first moment, what I was paying attention to was like how many people Arkansas was putting in the box. Once they were able to put Marcel Reed and put him in and get him moving again, right? Once he got on the outside and was able to throw on the move, I think that's when everything else opened up. The offensive line did great. I thought they were fantastic, especially in the fourth when Le'Veon started getting his chunk yards.
Yeah, I think the reason I asked about the depth and specifically on the defensive line, I mean, I've seen some really good offensive lines in the league. Usually depth is not that big an issue on the offensive line unless you have an injury situation. Texas is loaded on the offensive line, and they've got a little bit of depth, so that's good. But what I've seen in this conference so far, and we're headed into October now, is it those with depth, and Tennessee jumps out, Alabama jumps out. Texas has some depth on the defensive line, but no, I don't think anybody has it like Tennessee. Like it allows them this opportunity just to pound you, and then in the fourth quarter of a championship level game, then all of a sudden you have a first stringer who's perfectly well rested. Like and given the offenses that you sometimes face in this league that want to run, 85 to 90 plays, it's even more important. So I think anymore, it's not just having, a couple of good interior defensive linemen and a couple of good edge rushers. Like, no, you have to be able to rotate through, and you have to have multiple guys that can come in and entire units that can come in and be just as effective and impactful as your first unit. And if you're getting, 10 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, that's a great sign.
Talking to Tom Hart here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Tom, let's talk a little bit about Missouri, because I look at Missouri's numbers, and Billy and I were kind of going through some of their defensive numbers. They have some really good defensive numbers, yet I don't know if they've played anybody of substance on the offensive side. They're a team that I think is vulnerable, but again, in this league, everybody's vulnerable, right? There's a few elite teams, and everybody else is kind of in this mix. Missouri is painted as being on the doorstep of the elite teams, and I think we're about to find out how elite they really are.
Biggest question mark coming in for Missouri this season was twofold on the defensive side. It was the amount of talent they lost in the secondary and how young they were going to be. And this was a team that, on its way to a Cotton Bowl win against Ohio State last year, won a lot of very close games. I don't have the number in front of me, but I think there's something like 5-1 in one possession games. Like that is a big number. It's something in that neighborhood. Ennis Rakestraw went to the NFL. Another corner went to the NFL. So that was the biggest question. So have they solved that this year? Well, I'd say the best offense they faced so far was Vanderbilt's, and they had their hands full. Diego Pavia hit some big shots against them in that game, and Vanderbilt hung around. Boston College was another close win for them. BC's quarterback is a run-first guy. Like we talked a little bit about what Bill O'Brien brings in terms of offensive versatility. I didn't really feel like in that game that the secondary was stressed that much. So is that an advantage for A&M? Probably not, given this quarterback situation, right? And the way that Arkansas played it and stymied them in terms of how many guys you can drop and how much help you can get. So I think that's probably a push in that regard for A&M to take advantage of that. On the offensive side, what Eli Drinkwitz has done is run an up-tempo offense that runs the ball with a physical run game. Missouri's offensive line is really, really good. Nate Noel is giving them 110 yards a game on the ground this year. Very similar run game they had against Cody Schrader. Like, we're just going to run it left, run it right, we're going to stretch, and then those guys have the opportunity to hit it back up the middle. Like, I always think of those Broncos teams from 5-10 years ago. We just stretch play left, and then a cutback run goes for 50. So I think that's what you can expect from this Missouri team. Brady Cook has not played great so far this season, so they're going to continue to evolve. And I just wonder, with a week off, if there's going to be a significant wrinkle in how they diversify their attack a little bit if they can get Cook going.
Tom, I think Arkansas is actually a pretty good team, and being a pretty good team in this league means you may not be bowl eligible. And I look at Sam Pittman's the rest of their schedule. I look at Arkansas, and I'm like, how is this dude going to be able to keep his job? Tennessee, is it LSU, Mississippi State after that, then Ole Miss, then Texas? I don't see him surviving this season.
Well, to me, it's less about the one-loss record anymore, and it's more about the momentum to raise the funds that are necessary to build the roster. And, let's look at Florida's situation. Billy Napier still could pile up enough wins to make it to bowl. It's not likely, but they could do that. The question is, do the people who fund that program want to fund it to the extent to which Billy Napier can then have success and they can bring him back? Sam Pittman is beloved by the folks in that state, and hiring Petrino gave him this shot in the arm in terms of support within the state. I don't know all of the inner workings over there, but as long as you continue to have momentum to raise funds, and their athletic director, Hunter Yurchek, is kind of going out and saying, begging for funds, saying, listen, we got to do it like Ole Miss has done it. So they're anxious to get more of it. But David, I think in this day and age, it's more about all right, is the money coming in as opposed to are the wins coming in? And you could argue that those should move in lockstep, but they don't always.
So we talked a little bit, you mentioned Georgia, about how worried they should be. You look at their schedule, and look, I still think it could be kind of like last year, right? Where they lose another game or two, and they're still, I think, one of the top 12 teams in the country, but they don't make the playoffs this year. That is a real possibility based on knowing that they're going to Austin in a few weeks. And it's not just Austin. I'm looking at it. Ole Miss as well in their schedule. Ole Miss or Georgia, they really got a long road still ahead.
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit in that regard, Georgia over Ole Miss, if you're handicapping it right now, is that Georgia's strength of schedule. And I think I told you this a couple of weeks ago. I went over to Grapevine and I sat in on the mock process and we debated ad nauseum, for example, the Florida State Alabama conundrum last year, and what Ward Manuel, who's the head of the committee this year, the athletic director at Michigan, just kind of hammered home with all of us was it's about strength of schedule. Whether you're talking about the high end teams like the Texas Florida State argument, or the back end of that with Liberty and SMU. Georgia will have that. And listen, a 2-loss SEC team with Georgia and Georgia's schedule is not going to be left out. I'm fascinated to see what happens with everything else in that consideration. ACC now, Clemson's looking better. Maybe they do send 2, right? Maybe Miami and Clemson would be the 2 that get in. Big Ten is what we expected. Big 12 is what we expected. So, where are you losing that at large? Who are you losing that to? Which conference? But Georgia hasn't lost back-to-back games in the regular season since Kirby's been there. It's not a habit. And given all of Auburn's struggles, especially at the quarterback position and all the smoke under Hugh Freeze and how he's mismanaged that position and the program as a whole, I think Georgia's going to take them behind the woodshed and just pile up as many as possible. I thought it was fascinating Saturday night is the fact that, Kirby treated that like a championship game. Outside of the rough start, they go 5 for 5 on 4th down. I mean, man, that is we got to get after it. We're not taking a moral victory. We're trying to win this game and to make it as close as they did and take a fourth quarter lead.
Talking to Tom Hart on the Boss Firearms Hotline, Aggieland's premier gun and accessory shop. They've got all you need to build your next firearm. Check them out at bossfirearms.com. Bama, man, let's talk about them. They are, I think it's pretty cool, and I know there's going to be some skeptics out there saying, but it's Alabama. They've recruited at the highest level for 15 years. Nick Saban didn't lead I understand all that part of it. But I think it's pretty cool for Kalen DeBoer to just continuously win big games and put his teams in positions to win games. And I'm just talking about this game in Alabama alone. I know that some people thought they were going to win, but the way they won, the way they went about it initially, and the way they weathered Georgia's storm to me was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it's a championship mentality. And I think that you have what always impressed me about Alabama's program when Nick was there was the buy-in that you got across the board. And I've shared this before, but you go to an Alabama practice under Nick Saban on a Thursday afternoon, and everyone is dialed in. And that's really hard to accomplish. I know people listening may not grasp that, but you got 110 guys in uniform and scout team guys, and then you're running special teams and who's on the kickoff team and who's on the return team. And and there's guys playing grab ass at the end of the line and a guy who's got a bum ankle who's not dressed out, jacking around with a couple of teammates at the other end of the field. And that is normal. That is not normal in Alabama. And what I realized early on was that everybody's fully invested. If you're a walk-on, man, you're going to come back to every game for the next 30 years of your life. You're going to wear your letter jacket and you're going to wear your championship ring. If you're a second stringer, you're waiting for that guy to get injured, because if you're a second stringer on those Nick Saban teams, you're a future first round pick. You're just, you're only a sophomore at the time. And if you're starting for Alabama, you're trying to, increase your NFL resume and win a championship. Anyway, the buy-in is there from top to bottom. And I was at their practice right before the season started. And Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack on the defensive side, they've continued that sort of championship mentality and tradition. And I think a big part of it is the type of players that had already been recruited by the previous staff. They know what's on the line week in and week out. So I agree with you. And I think it's fascinating to see how he's used Jalen Milroe as not quite a run-first quarterback, but all right, we're not afraid to use your strengths, and we're not going to hide you as a runner. We're going to use you as a runner, and we're going to let that open up everything else. So they're scoring 47 points a game. I mean, that offense is amazing right now.
Tom, last thing for you. Let's talk a little bit about Kentucky. They're built very similarly to A&M, right? Strong defense, still trying to figure out their offense. What do you think about the way their resiliency after having some an embarrassing loss to start the season, such a close game against Georgia, and then, the knockout blow against Ole Miss?
Well, I'm going to go back kind of bigger picture to what we're talking about with Sam Pittman. Is that loss to South Carolina was so bad because Mark Stoops had spent the offseason and then at one point last year demanding more help with their NIL. I mean, at one point last year, he told everybody, you don't like it, pony up. And it was a bold statement, and it's a risky move to make because your support at any time is only as strong as your next win or loss. So then they get blown out by South Carolina at a time where their fan base was thinking, hey, we win this game, game day is going to be here. We could knock off Georgia. We could make it to the playoff. That was probably premature as the result against South Carolina shows, but it becomes very, very tenuous in that scenario. So now all of a sudden, you prove that style of grind it out, old school Big Ten football, which is Stoops' background, that works against a high profile offense like Lane Kiffin's, that you can win the line of scrimmage, and that Ole Miss team still, even with a couple of transfers that they have up front, the guys they brought in from Washington, still can't win a line of scrimmage and win a game that's played like that. I think that says a lot. I think one of the only up-tempo type teams in this league that is now built to do that is Tennessee. And I was with their staff, a week and a half ago, and they pride themselves on now being more physical and playing 2-3 tight ends at multiple times during the course of a game. They have those coaches, the Heupels, the Kiffins, they've learned that, okay, you're going to win championship football, no matter how many points are scored on any given weekend, like you've got to be able to win those slugfest. And Kentucky did this time. They didn't against Georgia, though they made it close. And that was probably a pretty good indication of how good they are.
Great stuff, Tom. Thanks very much, man. We'll talk to you next week.
I did. Be good, buddy.
Later, man. Tom Hart there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Appreciate his time. We'll hit a break. I think Billy will be here in the studio here in a moment. Right now, we're talking about Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They've got 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here on Highway 6 in College Station. But again, they have offices in Houston, Dallas, Austin, Tyler, San Antonio, everything west of the I-35 Panhandle, everything outside of Texas as well. They've got offices all over the place. The reason I use them is they're good people that are going to help you out throughout the process and talk you through the different options. And I see them all around town, so I use them. I think the fact that they're super local makes it all the worthwhile. The website is rolloinsurance.com. That is rolloinsurance.com. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, expecting Billy Liucci in studio momentarily. It is hour number 2 of the program. My thanks to our earlier guests, Jackie Sherrill and, of course, Tom Hart. Right now, let's talk Bird Dog, an Aggie-owned operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. I've been talking about it for a few weeks. I don't know when we're going to know, but I think in the next week or so, I said that last week too, but I think we're kind of nailing down this hunt that we're going to be doing as a TexAgs group, right? And I hope many of you can join us. It'll be my first hunt. They're going to teach me a lot of the stuff, but they're going to have some seasoned hunters and some names that you'll recognize going on this hunt. It's going to be fun. But they make it real easy for landowners to get more hunters and make more money on their ranches. They provide these full hunting experiences for corporate groups, friend groups. They handle all the logistics so you can focus on the fellowship and just having a good old time. And they also can elevate those experiences. They have awesome add-ons. You can get live music. And some of the acts that they know, that Jonathan knows, you'll really want this. They can also do some helicopter hunting, some cooking classes. They've partnered with 60-plus ranches, and they're growing that supply daily. They have something for every kind of hunter, brand new hunters, seasoned hunters, you name it, ranch consulting service hunters. They make memories in hunting in the outdoors, something for everyone that should experience it, and are excited to get the next generation of hunters out there. The website is birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Luke, what do you got for us?
I've got a text message from Sutton in College Station, our good friend. He wants to know on Monday, September 30th, do you think A&M wins 3 of these 5 games? Missouri, Texas, LSU at home, and then South Carolina and Auburn on the road.
So 3 of those 5?
Yeah.
Read the games again for me.
Hosting Missouri, Texas, and LSU.
Yep.
And then going to South Carolina and Auburn.
Yeah, I think they win 3 or 5. Yeah. Do you?
Yeah. I think there's a realistic chance to win at least 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness.
Music Billy in the house. For those of you who can't hear because he doesn't have a microphone. He does have a microphone on. Are we listening to a Karate Kid soundtrack?
Kind of.
Hold on, I know this is from a movie I know.
You know a movie, huh?
Jumping Jack Flash. What is it? What movie is this?
It's a movie that you should watch again, probably, I guess. It's Pretty Woman.
Oh, great movie.
Want to hear the next song on my playlist this morning?
Yeah.
I drove here to be in a good mood.
Oh, you're
So
joining
I'm basically just jamming to, I went from Matthew Wilder, if anyone knows what that is.
Matt? I call him Matt. Dirty Diana, she's dirty.
All right. I went from Matthew Wilder, Ain't Nobody Gonna Break My Stride.
Okay.
To King of Wishful Thinking by I think they're called Head West.
Head West.
Looking
Why
now.
wouldn't we go west?
And that song is from, it's the start of Pretty Woman. So you were close. Thank you. Start of Pretty Woman. It's a great song. Just puts you in a good mood. And then
the whole premise of Pretty Woman.
And then Dirty Diana.
Could you make that movie today?
I'm sure you could make the movie. I mean,
would she have the same occupation?
Yeah, I think for some reason they have not been canceled yet. All right. Women of the Night are still making movies about them is not canceled. Okay. I think you can still do that.
All right.
There's other movies you couldn't make today, but that's probably not one of them.
So you were listening to that music.
I'm coming in here on a Monday. I was listening to them talk college football. I do love when.
Who's them?
Just like the shows that don't normally lead and talk college football.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not like whatever first. I'm just making up names here. But those national sports shows, I like the Mondays where college football has transcended or broken through to kind of cut into some of that NFL talk right off the bat. And Bama, Georgia obviously did that. So I was listening to a little bit of that. And then I'm like, I did want to hear about, I've been following real closely the flooding in the Carolinas just because friends up there, but also, you know how it is, just randomly. Like I have no connection to like Asheville, but I went to Asheville, spent 3 days there before we went to Knoxville last year for that Tennessee game. So familiar with the area, enjoyed my few days there. So just kind of when you're watching that stuff and you've been there, know the area, it's kind of like, oh damn. So I've been, that's pretty horrific. What's going on up there? Awful. And I watched a lot of it yesterday. So I'm like, okay, we need some music.
Yeah.
So that's where I went with it. And then that song,
but you're in a good mood.
we're all the kings of wishful thinking around here, is what it made me think of. I'm like, here we go again. I mean, we're not sitting here thinking that you're taking on Georgia or Bama in the SEC title game. I'm not buying into Dan Wolken's tweet that you sent me yesterday.
It bugged me.
Which was both teams. It bugged you just because of his little comment about how easy the schedule was.
It doesn't talk about Texas' schedule.
Yeah.
That's
they gifted.
I don't know why he's on my timeline. I don't like him.
But I've said it all along. And this is the way the world works, and especially in an election year, this is how it goes. You listen to what you want to listen to, and then whatever anything else is said, it doesn't even matter. Like, so if you hear me say Texas' schedule is easy as hell, and they got gifted a remarkably easy schedule in year one in the SEC and year two, whereas OU got hammered by the schedule. Florida got hammered by the schedule. Georgia has it rough. Texas has it easy. And then they tune out and they run to Twitter. They don't hear me say, A&M got gifted a really nice schedule for this year. Next year gets a lot harder.
Much harder.
Because A&M's is more due to the home and home. We say it gets harder, though, but next year when they get South Carolina, Florida, who else is at home? Auburn and South Carolina, Florida, Auburn, and who, Luke? Who's the fourth? Is it Arkansas? No, they're at Arkansas.
Why can I not think of it?
South Carolina, Florida. Where are we going on the road? Oh, Jesus.
Mississippi State.
Mississippi
here, sorry.
Nope.
What is wrong with us? Just put the schedule up next. Sorry, so I can flip it. Just do it for me so I can flip it.
Ridiculous.
All right, here we go. All right, so here we go. You're going to be going, you're going to have coming here. Florida's coming here.
South Carolina.
You've got South Carolina.
Mississippi State.
No. Yeah. It looks right.
Yeah. I said it first and then you
looked at me
crazy.
Who's the fourth one? What'd she say? Just read it. I can't
read it. My eyes don't read it.
Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina.
Your home schedule is really nice.
Yes.
So while even then, next year, when we're complaining, but damn that road schedule, when you go to Notre Dame,
Auburn,
to Texas,
South Carolina,
just stop.
Mississippi State,
Guys,
Florida.
Mississippi State. There you go.
Okay. Auburn, South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi State. With the way Florida and Auburn are going, I mean, that's a schedule that when you think Kyle Field, year two under new coach, you look at that and go, you should win those games.
Yeah.
Road games next year, though, at LSU in Death Valley, at Texas in Austin, at Mizzou, who knows what that looks like, and at Arkansas in Fayetteville, and, oh, by the way, at Notre Dame. So it gets a lot tougher next year for the Aggies because of the home thing, and that's the year you lose the game we just saw Saturday, Jerry World. It flips. But this year, man, I don't take offense if someone says the Aggies drew an easy schedule by SEC standards because they did.
Well, they have a top 3 team on their schedule. We'll see where Texas is at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They have Missouri, what are they right now?
9.
9.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's favorable because you don't get Georgia, Alabama.
It's tougher than Texas's.
Yes.
But that's if you're being really honest, when you're at Kentucky now with what they're looking like, even though they got pummeled by South Carolina, that like Kentucky versus Missouri this week would be, I think, a coin flip of a game. The difference is A&M's playing Texas, which right now they're ranked number 2. That's what sets the Aggie schedule to be much tougher.
But my problem is
Texas does have to come to Kyle Field.
Talking about both programs in that tweet.
I agree.
And then only mentioning the A&M schedule.
That's
my
Dan
problem.
Wolken's not going to upset me on a Sunday after A&M wins a game. And
I like that idea.
Drive back from Dallas and I'm tired. I'm not going to let a Dan Wolken.
You should be happy like me. I like that.
It's not going to get me on my Monday morning when I'm listening to my happy music. So, and I'm
Another way
drinking
to
a
go hour.
coffee.
Go hour
I
was
got
very
Luke,
happy.
and was it?
I was very happy.
I didn't. I listened to a little bit of it. It didn't sound.
was
Y'all
happy.
didn't sound too morose.
No, people don't think that I enjoyed the victory Saturday.
I'm with you, dude. It's not enjoyable while you're in it. It's stressful as hell.
Yeah.
I normally will like go venture at halftime, go visit friends, go up to some suites, or go in the stands and find people that that I've texted with during the game. I just stayed down there. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm stressed. Like, I don't want to these games. But I told one of the new guys, on the football staff, during the game, we kind of like a look like, whew, this is, and I said, man, I know you know this, but this is this game every year, and this is every Saturday in the SEC. Look at Georgia. Look how good Georgia is. Look how great Georgia is. Look at their last couple games.
Yeah.
They have had to stress it out against Kentucky, pull off a 13-12 where they walked away feeling lucky to a team that had lost by 20, 3 touchdowns to South Carolina. And they were lucky to get out of there. And then they come in the next week and they look up and they're down 30-7. They're down 28-0 to Alabama, like getting their holy asses kicked. And by the way, I heard Kirby Smart say something like, at one point in the game, he kind of, maybe at halftime, said, hey, we were down this big to Texas A&M at Kyle Field and came out. I was like, I was falling asleep, so maybe he didn't say that. I'm 99% sure Nick and the crew in the back that Kirby Smart said we were down that big at Kyle Field to A&M before and came back and won. I guess he was talking about 2013 when they came in here and were down to Mike and Johnny, but that was only 14-0 and 21-7. That was never anything. It wasn't 28-0. It wasn't 30-7, but maybe it felt like it to Kirby because back then no one scored on them. But as I'm watching, look at Georgia, David. Look at how good Georgia has been, how good they are, and their last 2 weeks have been holy hell trying to get through SEC games. So that's when I look at A&M's schedule and I look at Texas' schedule, you do, and Texas fans don't get this yet, you do have to go, thank goodness. Like that game they played against Mississippi State, where they're up 7-6 with what was it, under 2 minutes till halftime, and they're a 40-point favorite. And then they're up, I think it was 13-6 right before halftime, and they scored again right before halftime to make it 20 or 21-6. Otherwise, they're going into the half up a touchdown over a 40-point. Like, that was a tough game. Your backup quarterback, did he throw a couple picks or did he throw one? You had a couple turnovers. So, yes, you can survive. Texas is they're number 2. They're no worse, if you really want to be a hater right now, they're no worse than one of the 5 best teams in the country. Ohio State, Bama, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, maybe Tennessee. And they're top 5 at worst, if not 1 or 2. Time will tell. But either way, they played a team that looked like the worst team in the SEC so far with a backup quarterback that hadn't played a game at home. And they had a little letdown. If that game had been in Starkville with the cowbells and Arch Manning being as inexperienced as he is, who knows how that goes? Do I think Texas wins? Yeah. Could that be a 4-quarter game? Yeah. And that's the difference here is that, you saw Kentucky, what they did to Ole Miss. All of a sudden, they look up. Imagine if you were having to go to Kroger Field. Is it Kroger Field? Imagine if you had to go there. It gets rough in this league, and unless you're really up. Hell, Luke, I'd challenge you to go look up Alabama the last 2 years, and how many games they won in the final 5 minutes of the game. Alabama, Nick Saban, Alabama. How many games did they win in the final 5 minutes or lose?
That just happened this weekend. Well,
it happened about every single game they played last year, it seemed like, in conference. So, look, like Auburn, terrible Auburn team almost beat them, took a miracle. A&M fired a coach. They were losing that game at halftime. They were trailing in the second half. These are tough matchups week to week for everybody. But unless you're one of those top 3-4 teams, and even then, look at Ole Miss, every game is going to be like A&M dealt with on Saturday. They're fortunate if they can beat Mississippi State like they did Florida. If you can get 2 out of your 8 to look like that, you're among the lucky ones, or you're one of the top 2-3 teams in the 16-team conference. Otherwise, they're all going to look like OU and Auburn. They're all going to look like A&M Arkansas. They're all going to look like Ole Miss, Kentucky. I mean, it's just the way it's going to go.
I want to follow down that track in the next segment because a thought about the way A&M goes about their business and why that could be a good thing. Right now, we're talking about Southwood Valley Animal Hospital. They've been partners with us here for a few weeks. They're awesome. If you haven't met Justin, go say hi to Justin and Lauren. They're both doctors. They took over ownership in 2022. And they're doing some great things at that place. It's right down the road from us, so you got to check them out. They've been serving the Brazos Valley for over 30 years. And Dr. Justin, he's the 13th Aggie in the family, but they have 17 Aggies in total, graduates from his family. They provide routine veterinary services, including wellness visits, sick emergency visits, and they provide surgical cases, advanced medical care at affordable prices. And they want to take care of TexAgers, so if you're listening to this, you're going to get a little bit of a discount. The TexAgs 12, you get $12 off the first time you go there. Tell them you're a listener, they'll hook you up. If you are a student, they're going to hook you up. Make sure you tell them that you're a student at A&M or wherever you may be, and they're going to take great care of you. The phone number, 979-693-9898. The number again, 979-693-9898. It is southwoodvalleyvet.com, southwoodvalleyvet.com. All right, we're back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Waller Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Luke's got the quote from Kirby Smart.
Yes, I do have that quote from Kirby Smart. He said, I told my guys at halftime, I've been down in that stadium before, to Texas A&M, similar score like that. We came back, made it a close game, but didn't make enough plays in the end to win. And that was 2012 when A&M
20-0.
Yes, went up on Alabama, and Kirby was on that Alabama staff.
20-0 at Bama. The next year, 14-0 and 21-7. That was that. And an end zone pick on a fade that the receiver should have jumped up and at least broken up. I don't remember if A&M would have gone up 28-7 there or 21-0. But it was something. I think it might have put them up 21-0. Maybe it was 28-7. They could have gone up, but whatever it was, or maybe that would have put them up 21-7. They were up 14-0 to start that game, and that was still to this day, I think the loudest I've ever seen Kyle Field when Johnny's dropping just fades to Mike Evans right and left to start the game. And, this was all built up as Nick Saban and Bama's revenge. And they ended up getting it. They had 3 picks, a pick 6. They ended up winning that ball game. So, and by the way,
yes, sir.
I heard one thing. I'm going back now. I'm fact checking y'all because I texted.
Nitpicking Nuño. Let's go.
Oh no, this is about Nuño and Olin.
Okay.
Oluño.
It's good hour.
I remember, and I don't know what. I know what just made me think about it, but I texted one of y'all that morning, and you guys were saying how you thought, and factually, one of you said this might have been the worst quarterback showing that you've seen. In a big game, you guys were going back to that Connor game against Notre Dame, and I texted y'all and I said,
I think it was me.
It was both. It was one. Well, it could not be you. It was one of you, but I think it was you. But I went back and I said, check it. I went back and I said, Kyle Allen, Alabama, 2015.
Wasn't me.
Do you know what he did in that game?
He was bad.
Yeah, so you don't know because you would have said 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 pick 6s.
That's right.
Against Alabama in a game. And then Kyler Murray came in and threw a pick. And the narrative is that, people now make this like it's not a bad thing that he came and said he didn't want to play for Spab because of the way they were moving quarterbacks. And that's not funny to me. That's a sign of a loser. That you don't want to go in and compete against Alabama and you threw a pick that half the guys on that team thought was intentional. Just threw it up for grabs, not caring. That's not cool. I don't care if you don't like your coach. You don't want to play against Bama. So that whole thing, that game was as bad as there can be. And Olin's texting now, so let's see what he said.
It was Olin. It wasn't me. I don't make those comments on the air.
Olin.
I may make them in private, but I don't make them on the air. I didn't say, no, I'm kidding. It wasn't me. I don't talk like that.
Yeah, it was definitely you.
It was 1,000% wasn't me.
Okay.
Well, okay. I'm not always happy.
Nick's looking it up. Zane's sitting at home on the couch. What do you do?
He's upstairs.
Do you take like a mental health day or
Zane's
something?
upstairs. That's all.
Okay.
Let's hit a break because it's way late again. Milliken Reserve time.
Arkansas upset everybody so much here. Nick was in the tank. You're in the tank.
What are you talking about the tank?
Evangelist is still smiling. He's always smiling.
Didn't you see my segment with Tom Hart smiling, high-fiving folks? Especially when we go to Milliken Reserve. Because I love Milliken Reserve. I love being out in the community. I'm a happy guy.
Birds make you smile.
Birds make me smile.
You go pet it, feed a deer some corn.
Yeah, and then I might shoot it. All right. Sorry, not at Milliken Reserve.
I'm not shooting a deer, Nuño. You're not shooting a deer. Trust me.
I'm a cowboy hunter. Both.
I want to see what happens on. Go ahead, Milliken Reserve, and then we'll talk about you on this hunt.
They're just a great place to go hiking.
You're not hunting at
I like
Milliken
hiking.
Reserve.
Billy likes hiking. I like biking. I've never been canoeing. I'd like to try it. Actually, I lied. I don't want to try it. Kayaking, equestrian trails, evening yoga. That I'm all in on the evening yoga. MillikenReserve.com is the website. MillikenReserve.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program coming to a close. Luke, you were very happy to hear that song.
Yeah, it reminded me, painful memory of that game that A&M played at Alabama, but it was cool to be in Bryant-Denny Stadium and hear that song and 100,000 people singing it.
That's when Luke landed this job.
Oh, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was fond memories of that game. Not the actual game, but of
the game
everything
was fun. No, that
outside
actually,
the game.
I think that was a good game.
You went in there not expecting to win, and it came down to the final play.
Haynes played really well that day compared to what he had been doing leading up to that game.
It's amazing in the course of a season and a coaching tenure what a play here, a play there will do. You think of Jimbo and that play on the goal line and the chance to beat Alabama. You think about Sumlin and any, does Capers Smith intercept that ball and you don't lose that first game to UCLA and blow that massive lead? And I picked one play. It wasn't his fault. It was one play out of 30 in that game you could have picked. That's the beauty of football. You never know when they're going to happen. I'll give you one from the other day. The Aggies are about to go for it near midfield, down 14-7, early in that game. Early second quarter-ish. And Elko, they're going to go for it, and they get a penalty, sets them back 5 yards. If they don't get that and you give Arkansas a short field, who knows if A&M goes down 21-7 or 17-7. Instead, you punt it, pin them down, and then Shamar Stewart blows up the play. You recover a fumble, you score, it's a tie game, you're starting over. So you just never know when they're going to come to win or lose you a game or to alter a season or a coaching tenure. That's what's so great about this sport.
All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Just want to read this out. It just came down on ESPN. Basketball Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo dies at 58 of brain cancer.
Oh.
Terrible news. I didn't know he was sick. I don't know if that was out there or not, but I covered Dikembe for a couple years. Such a nice man, very nice man, and was obviously an incredible player. Was it what year was that when
the Nuggets?
The Nuggets, yeah, 94. I think the first Rockets championship. That was made possible partially because the Sonics were the team that had the kryptonite to the Rockets. Dikembe was so huge in that series for Denver back in
Remember him laying on the floor on his back, his hands to his head or whatever. Yeah, that was an iconic moment in his career. And then I was just reading about it that, he was you interviewed him, got to know him to whatever level while you were working in Houston, so we have a better take on it than me, but just seemed like he was great. A great dude.
So I was early on in his career, I was anti-Dikembe because I was a Larry Johnson guy, and if you remember, they were both like the guys in the 92 draft, 91, 92 draft, and Larry Grandmama ended up winning the Rookie of the Year that year, but Dikembe was like, it was always those two against each other. Covering him, just a great man.
Well, and he did a lot of things for a lot of people charitably. He was, I think he was, that's one of the things he's really known for. I'm pretty sure, this might be wrong, I'm pretty sure I was at some random spot in Houston one year with Sumlin when he was at Oklahoma as an assistant coach. And it was like Dikembe, it's an old spot. You remember that there was like a bar in Post Oak called like Belvedere?
Oh yeah, I remember Belvedere.
And I think it was Dikembe and maybe T-Mac were in there. And I don't know what happened, but like someone went to either grab like the drink or a bar or something, and Dikembe, it was his drink or his spot or something, and he hit somebody with the finger wag, which I thought was incredible. No, whatever.
Yeah.
No, he seemed very beloved in the NBA, and I thought there's a great video, if you want a good laugh, is that one where Jordan's talking about how I think Mutombo's claiming he's never dunked on him, and Jordan's saying he would. It was playful and fun. That's sad news. Too young, born in '66, so
very young,
not even 60.
I wanted to go back to a commentary we were having about these games in the SEC. Alabama had a bunch of those. A&M has had them the last few years. It's life in the SEC. But the brand of football that A&M is playing, it may not win you a lot of style points, but I do think in these close games, when you dictate the tempo, when you dictate what happens and can control the clock the way A&M does, and also, control the line of scrimmage, while you're figuring things out, because they're still figuring things out, I think that is as good of a winning formula that this team can have, I guess is my point.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the goal. I don't think the goal is to trend along all year like that, because as we saw kind of through a lot of the Jimbo era and through, we've seen already this year, it certainly keeps you in the danger zone longer. If they could be playing the level of defense they're playing right now, which isn't perfect yet, but it's good, solid SEC defense without question. If they can keep doing that, and if they were to get more explosive on offense, they'd be a really, really dangerous football team. As it stands now, this team on that schedule can win every game they play. But also, with the exception of New Mexico, until they get more big play explosive, you'll be in the danger zone every week. And that, again, that's most of the league for different reasons. For LSU, they're explosive as hell, but they're going to give up a lot of plays. So every team is living in there, and everybody's trying to get out of that. So LSU's trying to get better on defense as quickly as they can. A&M's trying to get more explosive on offense. And I think they're getting closer. It's hard to see. The running game's getting better and better. I know it struggled for a large part of that game, but Arkansas sold out. They've got I think a high draft pick at end, who also is certainly an all SEC caliber dude who had a big day. They were moving parts again on the O-line, and they just, first of all, Reed was sacked 3 times. 2 of them were by Landon Jackson. I still think they generally did a really good job of giving him time to throw and protecting him. So they did that part. And the running game, again, when you're outnumbered, it's hard to do. And I'm not saying they didn't get beat sometimes, because they certainly did, but they were hanging in, and then they broke the dam open. And they started mauling people down the stretch, and Le'Veon Moss started running like a man possessed. It's a 4-quarter game for a reason, and Colin Klein and the offense stuck to it. But, you know, you saw some big plays in the running game. We've consistently seen that. You know, those 20, 25, 30-yard runs. So they've popped those semi-regularly. Marcel can do it with his legs. But on Saturday, you had the 58-yard touchdown to Noah. I think, you know, if Marcel connects with Noah, you might have had a 75-yard touchdown to open the third quarter. You saw a deep ball to Noah that should have been called PI. That could have iced the game. And if he doesn't interfere, who's to say Noah at 6'5", running full speed, doesn't make that catch? And again, they had the one-on-one shot. They took it there. They did it down the sideline to Cyrus Allen, where if you go watch that replay, Cyrus makes a great move on the route, and he's going to blow past the Arkansas DB, and he stumbles for 3 or 4 steps. And he's still out in front of him. Marcel overthrew it, but if he doesn't make that stumble, I don't know that Cyrus doesn't catch that on the run and go in for another. So, look, those plays don't count other than the one to Noah for the TD. But that was the closest we've seen to this offense, like opening it up, attacking down the field, making the opponent respect it and back off. I'm telling you, dude, there's something in here. Look at Luke. He's having a panic second. You all right? He's not choking, guys, because he's drinking water, so I don't think we need to.
And he's laughing. He's smiling even
I don't
during
think we need
distress.
to help him out. He's getting very red, but it's water.
A lot of it, you know.
Is it water?
Yes.
Okay.
In the wrong hole?
No, he's good.
You were finishing up a point.
No, that was it. I just think the offense is. I'm not. Look, there's a ways to go before we go. Man, this is an explosive, lethal, dangerous passing. I'm saying though, I'm looking to see, like this week against Missouri, the following game, you know, after a bye week on the road, like Mississippi State, when you get home against LSU in a few weeks, like, will the passing game, can you make enough plays Saturday to win against an offense with Cook and Burden and Weiss and an outstanding tailback? Can you make enough plays to win that one? And then when LSU comes in here with Nussmeier and Lacey in that offense, their freshman tailback from DeSoto is starting to look really good. Now he's doing it. He did it against a really bad team this weekend, but was it South Alabama? But can you do that? We'll see. But I see it potentially getting like closer to where we want it to be. And again, a lot of that, Nuño, are receivers. You just added Jabri in midstream a few weeks ago. You're trying to get Bussey up to speed as quickly as possible to where he can be more of a factor. I think Noah needed that kind of confidence boost to have that type of game. You got Ja'Day Walker involved last week, not this week.
Yep.
But I think it's moving in the right direction. But here's I think people are underestimating. Like, you had a quarterback. And you had a quarterback picked, and you picked him. There wasn't a competition. He won the job, hands down. You have a very young, inexperienced quarterback that played 4 quarters of football in his career in a bowl game against no one. And he looked really promising, good, but he's played 4 quarters of a low-tier bowl game. That was it. He just made his 3rd career start Saturday. 3rd career start. He has shown so much in terms of checking boxes of like what he's made of, what he brings to the table. But he is a very much still a developing quarterback and passer. and just seeing it all and going through the progressions, and very much in the developmental stage, period. No big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but I mean, nothing wrong with that. But you had an experienced QB, so it's crazy.
And not that much experience, but experience.
But experience, and 3 years in, and a guy with NFL arm talent and an NFL passer, okay? He got hurt in your first game, only played in 2 games. When you throw that into the mix, it affects a team's season in a big way. So when A&M's winning these games, this is added bonus because you're either going to get a much better version of Marcel Reed week to week to week, or you get Connor back. Whichever that is, whichever kind of comes first is what it feels like. And if it happens this week, we talked yesterday, then that's the one time where I think it's a really interesting decision. Because if A&M can keep winning, then I don't think you change it, regardless of kind of how, as long as Marcel's progressing. But this week would be interesting because you're 3 weeks in. They weren't real great. They weren't great at all on offense. Saturday they were good enough. And credit him and the offense because they played a big role in winning that football game down the stretch, just like they did in the fourth quarter against Bowling Green. But I said before the year, I thought Tennessee, OU, A&M, or LSU would make the playoff. And they would do it by whichever quarterback of those 4 had the biggest year. And I said, we know when we know. You'd see it and you'd know. Well, right now, that's Nico and Nuss. The problem for Nuss is their defense is bad. And Nuss is he threw 2 picks, I think, this weekend against South Alabama. Like, Nico is playing the best to me. Like, I know Nussmeier has the stats and he'll make some amazing throws. Yeah. Nico's that dude. And he's got the defense to back him. And Tennessee has an outstanding chance to reach the playoff. Jackson Arnold is benched. Okay? And Hawkins, he did just enough, made some plays, and OU had the big comeback thanks to the pick 6, another terrible throw by Peyton Thorne. Terrible. He almost had 300 yards in that game. Pick 6 at the worst time. Auburn really pissed that one away. I don't know if you followed that because it was during A&M's game.
I was following it online.
They pissed that thing away, something fierce.
That's twice.
I mean, they were within 5 yards of ending that game with a field goal.
That's 2 weeks in a row, though.
Yeah, really bad. And Hugh Freeze is under some heat. And OU, they're still not good. And they've had a lot of injuries on that offense. But they went with Hawkins. I think Jackson Arnold's out, and then Connor got hurt. So 2 of the 4 didn't even make it out of September.
Right.
1 due to injury, 1 due to
performance,
suctitude. And then the other 2, one of them's throwing well, but his defense stinks. Right now it's Nico, and there's no question about it, and that's where we're at. So when I say that about these teams, and A&M's deal is defense, running game, and great play from Connor Wigman, we've already taken Wigman out of that equation. So for them to be sitting at 4-1, regardless of how it looks, they haven't beaten a ranked team. But here's what they've done. They went on the road to the Swamp and dominated. They went neutral against Arkansas.
Outlasted them.
Played a 4-quarter game, outlasted them. They dominated in the trenches. They were patient on offense. They out-physicaled them and outlasted them. Learned a 4-quarter win. Same thing against Bowling Green. They got an unexpected test. They brought their B- game at best, if not their C game, probably their C game, and they survived an off day. Yeah. And no one's going to care later in the year. It's going to matter what A&M does in the SEC, not what they did against Bowling Green, as long as you won that game. But they're 4-1. I would have had them at this point probably at 4-1, maybe at 5-0. I was very reluctant before the season to assume they would beat Notre Dame, at Florida, Arkansas neutral.
At least drop one of those.
I would have been on the 5-0, 4-1 fence. And that's exactly exactly what happened so far. So they're not off pace record-wise. I do think if they get Missouri this weekend, I think they really have a chance to get this thing going in the right direction.
So this brings me to what I want to talk about here. I said before the Arkansas game that this could sit you down a certain path. I hope we continue to have those dialogues each week. I hope it becomes that storyline this week. All right, if you beat Missouri, now everything you just said. Mississippi State, you hope you don't mess up. You should win that game. You hope you don't mess up. But hopefully this is a dialogue we're having throughout the rest of the season where each week, like, hey, I know we thought this, but if they win this, look at the path that they're still on.
Yeah. I mean, your boy Walken's already getting way ahead of you there.
I'm not talking about that.
But he's right. Here's where the point is. And he doesn't really care what A&M's path in year one under Mike Elko looks like. He wanted a shock value tweet, but it was based in some truth to get to that shock value because he saw it and goes, damn. He hadn't really looked at A&M's schedule. He goes, damn. And while you're mad at him, appreciate Walken for doing what the AP voters did not do, and appreciate somebody that actually looked at A&M and went, because everyone picked Arkansas this weekend. I meant to send T-Bob, their whole staff picked Arkansas over A&M. And I'm like, well, of course, our boy Moscona is going to pick.
Every time.
That dude hates Texas A&M worse than anybody, and I always give them a hard time about it. But they all picked Arkansas. I think everybody but Tebow picked Arkansas on the Nation show. It was a trendy pick. Everybody, and by the way, part of it is everybody loves Sam Pittman. I don't know who SEC Mike picked. I can only assume it was Arkansas.
I think he picked A&M.
Did he really?
I think he did. Am I right about that? Do you remember? Nick?
Okay.
Nick,
so
he picked A&M.
Okay, so most people picked Arkansas. They felt like, and I don't know why. Take away A&M out of it. Like, again, I kept saying Arkansas is better than they were last year, but they're still not good.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to a bowl game. Like, I think they probably needed to beat A&M to go to a bowl game. Said Florida won't go to a bowl game because of their schedule. They needed to beat A&M to go to a bowl game probably. So I don't know what they were picking other than they're not giving A&M any respect. And I don't know what A&M's done to earn respect outside of this bubble. We're watching. We see them doing this.
Yep.
We see that they have some big-time playmakers. Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, Le'Veon Moss. And then they've got some guys that have a chance to emerge into that role, like Marcel Reed. We see a good O-line. We see a great D-line. Most people don't know much about A&M right now other than young quarterback that can get it done with his legs and a great defensive line. And Mike Elko. That's all they know. We're watching week to week. So I don't know why beating Arkansas close, beating Bowling Green close, beating Florida and losing to Notre Dame should catch anyone's attention. You win Saturday, you catch people's attention. Not only because you beat a top 10 team at home, but because you would be 3-0 in the SEC, because you would be 5-1 overall and on a 5-game win streak. Then people start to take a closer look and they go, they really were close to beating Notre Dame. They're that close to being 6-0. And then you start taking a closer look and you go, oh man, they go at Mississippi State. They're home against LSU, that's winnable. They're at South Carolina, tough but winnable. New Mexico State's a win. And then at Auburn, most people, if A&M beats Missouri, that not us, they're going to look at that schedule and they're going to go Mississippi State win, LSU potential win, South Carolina. Some of them are going to say win. They're going to overhype A&M, but you say potential win. They're going to go Auburn win, even though that's a lot of that would be getting ahead, as we would know. But they're going to look at that and they're going to see what Walken said. Do I think they'd be there? No. But I'm saying if you beat Missouri, the rest of the country starts to look over here and go, wait a second.
This is
what's
possible.
going on over there? And they're probably going to overdo it.
Yep.
Which is what we're always accused of doing, which we don't. We actually tend to do the opposite. But I'm telling you what the country will do if A&M beats Missouri. And factually, Texas A&M would be favored at Mississippi State. They would be favored at home against LSU slightly. Hell, they're favored right now this weekend at home against Mizzou. I don't know about South Carolina.
We'll see them.
But they very well could be.
If they won those games.
Because South Carolina is going to lose games before that for sure. And they would be favored at Auburn. So if they beat Missouri, then you look and you would actually probably look at that and say A&M will probably be favored in every game leading up to Texas.
Yeah.
Do I think that would preclude them from losing at Mississippi State because they're so good after, let's say, winning a close game against Missouri? No way. But I'm just telling you what's ahead for you if you can beat these guys in terms of how you are perceived outside of this bubble.
We got to hit a break, but I do want to say this. My issue with the Wolken stuff is the way I'm wired, is that there's, I think, too many people in our business that say things for the effect and for the interaction. And I don't like that. A guy like Moscona, I think he really believes what he says. Okay, but I think there's a lot of people that say things.
Other than his Bama shtick, he does that to Bama right now that the world's burning down.
But
I'd like to see him today.
Going at Texas, I think that's a different kind of compartment. Like I put it here.
No.
When I'm talking about big picture,
I'm going at Texas mainly to needle them. And knowing that, hey,
that's a rivalry.
That's like a fun. They get it.
I get that.
Most of them get it.
What I don't get is talking heads that do what I do, that just say things. Oh yeah, let's see how they react. I want A&M to come at me. I'm not going to look at the other side of the story. I'm just going to look at this.
But I don't think he did that for that reason.
That's how I take it.
I don't think he did that for that reason at all. I think sometimes I think people get caught up in, like, I think if you ask Dan Wolken on a message or on Twitter publicly, do you not think Texas got an easy schedule? I think he'd look at it and he'd say, yeah, I think a lot of Longhorns acknowledge that. Why would they care? In a 12-team playoff, I could see if you're sitting on the 3-4 or the 4-5 bubble and you're going to be worried about how your schedule is perceived, that like, hey, if Texas loses one game and doesn't get to an SEC title game, are they going to get left out of the playoff? That's when I'd maybe, as a fan, be getting defensive about the schedule. What are you talking about? You try to fight this imaginary fight like it's actually going to affect anything. In a 12-team playoff, and when your team's sitting at number 2, who cares? Play the easiest SEC schedule you're afforded. Be thankful they gave you that and not OU's schedule and not Florida's schedule. And then prove yourself against Georgia. And at Michigan, we're not talking about whole schedule. We're talking about SEC. Prove yourself against Georgia, and then you got SEC title game. You got playoff games. Who cares?
Yeah,
that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I'm looking at A&M's schedule, and if I'm the Aggies right now, again, I'm like, hey, don't call it easy. It never is, even for the Horns. Look at what's happening with Kentucky. But realize you could have got dealt a lot worse hand than you have. And this schedule in year one for Mike Elko is favorable compared to, imagine year one if he'd have Napier's schedule or Venable's schedule in year one.
Yep.
Imagine if you had to play out of Ole Miss, Tennessee, Bama, Georgia. Imagine if you had to play in Texas, right? The top 5 in the league right now, Ole Miss. I don't know why we're putting them in there because they're 0-1 against teams with a pulse. But if you are, A&M plays 1 of the 5. Imagine if they played 3 of the 5 in year one of a new head coach. You're like, damn, what are you doing to me? It's like Jimbo in year 2. Jimbo in year 2, and Elko knows this because he coached this team. You had you had number 1 Bama, number 1 Clemson, number 1 LSU, and a Georgia team that I think was 1 at one point in the year. And that's your schedule? And Bo Nix and Derek Brown and a top 10 Auburn team? It's like, dude, let me get my footing. They're letting Texas get their footing. They've set it up where if this A&M team gets better, Elko and the Aggies can get their footing. So it ain't a bad thing.
Nope.
I'll tell you that.
Hit a break. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. They have a great selection of commercial vehicles with service body trucks. They have flatbed trucks. They have several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. And you know this about them. They're locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni. They're right down the road. It's not a far drive. And again, you're going to get great customer service with some great perks with that. Complimentary pickup and delivery for service customers. Also, free oil changes for life on the life of your vehicle as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They have a strong and committed sales staff with many, many years of experience in satisfying customer needs. They make long-lasting relationships with all their customers because they want you to go back and they want you to know that you're going to get a great experience when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program. Billy Liucci is in studio. Billy, a name that I know we talk about, but I feel like because of the dominance from some of the folks on the defensive line that we haven't really spent a lot of time on, is Will Lee. Will Lee is really playing well for this team. I mean, really every game. He makes plays that sometimes aren't splashy, but they're noticeable.
I think pass breakups, interceptions and tipped passes that are intercepted for pick sixes in SEC games are splashy. Those are splashy to me. And how many PBUs did he have Saturday? He set the single game record in this classic, which has been going on for, what is it? I guess they missed 3 years.
4 pass breakups.
4 pass breakups in a single game for Will Lee. That's pretty special. And again, that secondary has been, they've been good. And I said prior to the game, like, hey, this is a step up in the test. Not because I don't think Arkansas has a great passing game. I think and Taylon Green I think he's probably driving Bobby Petrino nuts. But because of his mobility and elusiveness and because of the receiving core, I think you put that receiving core with a better QB, like that's more accurate and on time and just is a better passer. I think Armstrong and Satania, Tesla, the tight end, how do you say his name?
Luke Haas. Tyrone Broden's another one who's really good.
Those dudes, that pass catching core is actually the best A&M's faced in 5 games this year. But they don't really have the guy to consistently give them the ball like in rhythm, in the flow of the offense. And I don't think they're not like Alabama or LSU any of those years. There's no Malik Neighbors, there's no Jefferson, there's no Chase, there's no Brian Thomas. Hell, the receiver Arkansas had a couple of years ago that was a first-round pick. The big dude was Adams. There's nobody like that. But they're the best one they've faced in 5 games. And they gave up some yards, but they really gave up the one big play. And it was a bust. It was a busted play. Like, he should have never had that much time. He made a great move to avoid a pass rush. If you go back and watch that play, there was not 1, not 2, but 3 Aggies that had a shot at him. And he did a great job of getting through that wash and coming out and looking down the field, and boom, there's a guy over the top, touchdown. Otherwise, I thought they did a great job, and it was nice to see Des Ricks get a pick. There's still, Elko's still figuring out, like, hey, Dalton Brooks missed halves of 2 games, right? Or really almost like 2 full games from targetings. Guess what? He looked great Saturday. Bryce Anderson only played like 17 snaps because he's banged up. So you saw more. You saw more of.
He lost Chappelle, by the way.
You saw more Ratcliffe. You saw more of Jones, number 9, out there. You lost Chappelle, who you loved at nickel, midweek prior to Florida. So you're still figuring that one out. So you saw a mix of Jaden Hill, who did some nice things in the box. You saw more of B.J. Mays, who I think we're going to hear from today, so that'll be good. And there's still moving parts. You know, they started Ricks over Javon Thomas, who still played, was impactful. They're still figuring out what the best look is going to be like. But I think all year you'll see Elko roll through because I think they feel good about who they've got in that secondary, all told. But there's going to come a point in time where, like, these are our 4. This is our nickel. This is our dime when the game's on the line and in the clutch. And one guy you know is going to be a part of that is Will Lee because he's been really good.
Join the Association of Former Students at the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center for a pregame party this Saturday, October 5th, before the Aggies beat the hell out of Missouri. Grab your friends and join Aggie classes of 2013 and 2024 for the Young Alumni Kickback. Tickets are $30 and available for purchase at tx.ag/YA Kickback 24. The party starts at 9 a.m. We'll feature all-you-can-eat tacos from Fuego, beer and seltzer thanks to Yi Ling, Aggie Lemonade, music from DJ Bear, and Yell practice with former Yell leaders. After the party, sit with your friends at a football game by purchasing a ticket in the reserve block for the Young Alumni Kickback. A link to purchase discount football tickets will be provided with your ticket confirmation email. Don't miss the biggest party of the weekend. Tickets are available for purchase. tx.ag/YA Kickback 24. It's the Association of Former Students. We're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy, we just the game notes just came down. So it's going to be an ABC broadcast. Joe Tessitore on the play-by-play, Jordan Rogers, our buddy, your buddy, as the analyst, and Stormy B as the sideline reporter.
All right.
So we have that. I wanted to.
You said you was going to go with Stormy B. You're
Stormy
not.
B.
You're not going to.
I can't pronounce it. Boo.
You thought that was just going to fly? We just do initials now.
Yeah,
We just,
Stormy B.
like
David
Susie, Stacy Q,
Nikki
from
Sass.
the 80s. Remember her?
Yeah, Stacey Q on 93Q.
What did she sing?
Oh.
2 of hearts.
2 hearts that beat
as one. I need you, I need. Or who's another one with one letter? Stevie B.
Stevie B.
Spring
John
Love.
B.
John B. What does John B sing?
He was an R&B singer.
Yeah, I know. What does he sing though?
That's his name?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I do know
The
that.
character.
I did watch Outer Banks.
I don't.
Luke, okay.
I don't do those kind of shows.
I'm sure you did.
John B sang like something about us.
I'm on my third watch of the Terminal List. That's the kind of shows that I watch.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't.
John
know
B. They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't.
You don't know the Terminal List?
Anyway.
No.
Oh my, Billy, you've watched Terminal List, right? It's one of the greatest shows in the
Oh
history.
yeah. It's not that good, David.
It is fantastic.
David, it's not that good.
It is that good.
It's not.
It is that good.
It's not.
I guarantee you our subscribers are all on board and our
The
listeners.
Terminal is.
It is fantastic.
If we did a show where it was like, hey, everyone on the TexAgs staff, come in. We'll all have like
10 shows.
10 shows, and
Yeah.
each person gets to pick 100 shows better than the Terminal.
No.
In real time, we could all do it.
It's got everything you want in a show. He's a vigilante. It's awesome. It's what life should be about.
Who's the actor?
Chris Pratt. Fantastic, serious actor.
He's
not.
not.
Great.
He's a solid actor. I like Chris Pratt, but how many seasons are there? Is it still going?
Yes, it's coming.
Okay.
Nick just said he got a 40% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
That shows that they're making season 2 and they're making a prequel series. It is that good. I'm sorry that you don't go to the meetings, the Navy SEAL community meetings.
I feel like that show
fantastic.
Is like it's the simpletons. And I'm not saying you are. I'm not.
I think you are.
I swear I'm not.
I think you are.
Because I liked it. But like
it's not Reacher.
It is geared
which is
towards
ridiculous.
the simpleton to say like, oh, we're gonna dumb this whole thing down.
It's not dumb at all. You got to be smart. You got to pay Reacher, which I enjoy, is dumb.
Yeah, it is.
I
stopped watching.
But I like watching it. I like Game of Thrones, House of Dragon,
Okay.
Breaking Bad.
Didn't say you were.
I have great taste when it comes to shows.
You know what show?
Peaky Blinders, the best.
You want to piss me off? There's
No.
certain shows that if somebody doesn't like them, I'm like, then I don't know that I like you.
Yeah, that's what I'm
like
having
you're
this
not my
conversation now.
like. Now it's harder with younger people in Seinfeld, but like when it was relevant, if you didn't get that humor, if you don't think The Office is funny and you don't get that humor, like I'm like, I don't know how well we're gonna vibe. It makes me question a lot about you. And the other thing I don't like is if you don't like me singing and let me sing when I want to sing, and if I'm on the phone with somebody and I'm trying to explain a song, or if I'm just in a mood and I just break out with it, and you get annoyed by that, then maybe you're not for me.
By the way, let me tell you the kind of parent I am.
Okay.
My kids,
you're
my
a great
boys have
parent.
watched every Seinfeld multiple times.
Wow.
They get it. They think it's
Wow.
hilarious.
It's going to help them in life.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm also the bad parent that let them watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. So that's the kind of dad I am.
that's good too. Cultures.
Anyway, can I ask you about Noah Thomas? I mean, I
All right, I suppose. Let's talk Noah
so
Thomas.
here's we've been waiting for a big moment, and he gave them a big moment.
I've been waiting. Okay, sorry.
I like when you
Thank
sing,
you,
Billy.
David.
Please, can you rap it now?
For a receiver like you.
But beyond the big play that he had, this 54-yard touchdown, 58-yard touchdown.
Fact
Beyond
check,
that,
fact check.
he was a reliable target often in that game, and
They
that's
target-
what I liked.
Yeah, 6 catches, 5 other catches in the 58-yarder. So outside of the big play, he was 5 for 50 there. Some big, some important catches. I remember one of them he caught on first down and at a key moment to get them way ahead of the chains. Look, Noah, I'm writing this today. Like, Mike Elko, Colin Klein really believe Noah could be a big factor this year in the passing game. And again, you go back. There was a quarterback change. They're going through, like, I don't know what it looks like if Connor doesn't get hurt and shakes that Notre Dame game. And that's an assumption. It's not a sure thing. But just finds back into his rhythm. I'm sure Noah would have been a favorite target of his. So there's an adjustment period. And Noah hasn't put his head down. He's hanging in there. I think he's capable of these type games every time he takes the field. He did it against Ole Miss last year, I think, in Oxford. Did it this week. He's a big play receiver who has gotten better, in my opinion, as becoming a weapon in that possession receiving game as well, let's call it. So, I think Noah can do this more consistently. And I don't mean the 108-yard, 11-target game. That's probably a little bit of an outlier. But he can do that on any given week. 100-yard game with a big touchdown over the top. He can do that on any given week. But I think he can consistently be, I think he should in this offense. I think they should make sure it happens, and he needs to make sure it happens by playing well. I think he should be a 5-6 catch, 45 to 70-yard guy every Saturday. I think that's what he should be, and I think that's what he can be. But the game he had this week with almost 110 yards on 6 catches, 11 targets, a long touchdown, on any given Saturday, Noah can do that to a defense, and that's good to know. But he had to do it, and now he has to. It'd be amazing to see him stack performances like that. Like, when's the last time we've seen a receiver stack? I guess Jade Walker did last year. Ole Miss, crappy game, LSU. He did last year, back-to-back SEC games. He stacked them. Prior to that, I don't know how long it's been because Moose hadn't stacked like that. Noah hadn't.
Nice has some games.
Anias, yeah, you're right. I would assume it would be Anias.
Yeah, it's nice.
I don't know when Anias had back-to-back 100-yard games, but if he didn't, he had 2 out of 3. You're right. Anias gets it done, but they need that in this offense.
Yeah,
they're going to need it. Noah Thomas needs to emerge because, man, what Le'Veon Moss could do. And by the way, Le'Veon Moss is 40 yards off the SEC rushing lead. And Jaquindon Jackson had like 200 yards, right, Luke, against Pine Bluff?
Yep.
Kind of a misleading stat, whereas, Le'Veon played McNeese and was basically not used much after the first quarter and a half. So Moss right now, again, he's third in the league in rushing, I believe, and he's like 10 yards off second in the conference. 471 yards. Quentin Jackson. Oh, and by the way, the guy who's second, I don't think counts. Olin, by the way, contributed. Sheila E. Yeah. The guy who's second, to me, doesn't really even count among the rushing leaders. That's Henry Parrish out of Ole Miss, who they played no one this football season until Saturday. I mean, I think Le'Veon Moss against those teams might have 1,000 yards rushing already. A lot of backs would be. Imagine what your boy over at Boise. Actually, he's doing that. He's playing those type teams. Well, he's also playing those type teams with the exception of Oregon.
We're going to hit a break here. We'll come back. I got a question about tight ends on the other side, and I'll just read this text before we hit a break. Just Patrick, Nuño, terminal list is fantastic. Don't listen to him. We'll be back.
Okay.
Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12-979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave. Serving Aggieland since 1984. They have your favorite pizza and your favorite world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. And as a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Luke Evangelist, got a question for you.
Yeah.
Where am I doing the show on Friday from?
I think this logo right behind me, the Angry Elephant.
The Angry Elephant, Friday, the College Station location. I will be there.
Don't
Olin
go to
Buchanan.
the Brian one.
You can go there.
You can go there.
I just won't be there.
He won't be there.
In fact, I encourage you to go to both.
Kay Naegeli made that mistake last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah, she went to the wrong one.
Kay.
I hope that happens again. There's a part of me that kind of hopes that happens again.
Were they mowing the yard in our building? What's going on
This
out
happens
here?
often. Oh,
There's
yeah.
no grass.
And then the exhaust comes. There's a little bit of a grass right by the parking lot.
Maybe that's why we're all coughing in here. Luke almost perished. Earlier.
There's a manager's meeting later. I might bring up the coughing.
I'd bring it up.
So tight ends. Somebody asked about the tight ends not being involved. I actually say the tight ends are involved. This 3 straight games, you get a touchdown from your tight ends. This week it was Watson. Obviously, the 2 weeks prior, Theo got his. Let's just talk about that group. And when they're targeted, they're making plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a number that will go up as they prove. I mean, and they continue to show they can make plays. But yeah, I mean, I've liked Watson since he got here in the spring. Theo has been just a great find in the passing game, and I think he's getting much, much better as a blocker. I don't think he knew what he was doing early in his career. You know, just being honest, I think he'd tell you he was like trying to figure it out. American football, you know, at this level, coming from Sweden. So, yeah, I mean, I think that position's it's starting to be a quality position. That's a credit to the coaches working with that group. It's a credit to Klein getting them involved. I said yesterday, I thought, speaking of that touchdown, it's so hard to get those yards in the red zone. Colin Klein at Kansas State was lethal in the red zone. And to get 2 plays from 5 yards out against any SEC defense, especially in a close game that are that easy, a walk-in by your quarterback and a wide open, just lob it out there to your tight end. That's outstanding play calling. To get a defense so out of sorts, that's what you beg for, are those easy touchdowns. And by the way, if either one of those ended up in a field goal, you're talking about a tie game Saturday. Anybody's game, obviously. But no, I think I was really impressed with. I continue to be impressed with the tight end position, and hopeful that we'll see more of it. And I've seen Watson getting open some too. Like, I think Marcel can find the tight end more as an outlet if he starts, you know, going through the progressions a little more successfully as he continues to develop.
Billy, thank you very much, sir.
All right, Dave.
All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Monday. Tomorrow on the program, Luke, remind me what we have on Tuesdays. Do you remember? You don't know, do you? I have it right here. Shereen Williams will be on the program. Jamie McCoy will be on the program. Jamie Morrison will be on the program. The KBTX Roundtable people will be on the program. Jordan Pugh on the show. Working on something else for later on in that hour. So that and more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We will catch up with hopefully every single one of you mañana.